already like recording already? Okay. Okay, let's see. Okay, it's 6:31. Okay, Mike. Hi Dale. Hi Kathy.
Hey.
Which order do you guys want to start? Because we're going to review the documents, right? So just curious as to, is there a particular order?
No, I think what we really want to do, and Dale, you lead us through this, is we've taken all the information that you have and that you've seen, Miles, and then we've
synthesized
given you our recommended characteristics and those to consider. So you've seen all, you have the chart with all the rankings, and then you have, and comments are for your own, review and edification.
Right.
And then, so are you, with the two questions, are you comfortable with the recommended characteristics for the profile for the for the brochure? And secondly, of the ones that to consider, which ones would you like that? Which ones would you like us to consider, Antoinette? That's where we're starting from. And then we'll look at the actual brochure later.
All right, Terry, I see your hands up.
Yes, I do. I stepped away for a moment, but I had my speaker up loud.
Oh.
Did we formally call the meeting to order?
No, I just asked just so we know in advance, like if they had a particular order, how they wanted to go through everything, and he was just explaining how no particular order.
All right, got it.
Okay,
right,
so it is now 6:33. I said we wait 2 minutes. We waited 3. It is 6:33. Ivy, I am now calling this meeting's order. All right, so we have with us our Ray and Associates team with us. Hi, Molly. Hi, Dale, Michael, and Kathy. Okay, so we're ready to go through it with you guys.
Let me just kick it off. First, I just wanted to thank you all for, you spoke to either Mike or me. The board was very forthcoming. You were wonderful. We really, really appreciate the input we got was phenomenal. And the community meetings, we've got, a lot of honesty. You can see a lot of great responses. And so what the team has done is really synthesize all that you have. Really, Molly has played a great role. So I'm going to turn it over to Molly to kind of take us through some of that information. But I just want to thank you all. You've been one of the great boards. So thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. First, thank you, Dale, but all the work, Kathy did all of this. So really major kudos to Miss Kathy. She's the numbers and put everything ranking. So I can't take that credit. So since she's here, I know she'd yell at me tomorrow if I tried to. So I'm just getting out of the way now.
Nice.
She keeps me in line. All right. So see, do you all mind if I share screen here just so we go over documents so everybody can see it? Is that okay?
That's good.
Perfect.
Thanks, David.
I would like to ask before I start taking over people's computer screens. All right, I'm just going to pull up a document here. Give me one moment so it's ready for you. And gentlemen, I'm just going to start with the survey data just right off the bat. Just dive right into it. I think that this group is more than capable. So just give me one moment. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take over and share screen. Ivy, would you mind letting me share screen? It says that I can't right now.
you. Hold on.
Co-host. Laser may have to make you a co-host.
Okay.
Which sheet are we pulling up? The raw scores sheet? Is that what you're gonna, okay, thank
It's
you.
going to be the Excel document, and it's got a whole bunch of numbers. Yep.
Yes, so Laser, I don't have the capability to do that. I thought I I don't see where
Did it.
I can share my screen. Do you want me to share my?
I made her a co-host. I made Molly a co-host so she could share her screen.
Okay,
All right, great. Thank you, Ivy.
I'm getting host disabled participant screen sharing.
Is Steve here? Steve?
Ivy,
that's
if
what I
you
did
could,
too.
Laser.
you could make me a host, Ivy.
I'll be more than happy. Where is your name?
Laser did the same thing for me in my meeting just before this.
Laser's the
You
host.
are now the host.
All right, hold on. Let's do.
Kathy, I'm showing you as co-host.
All right.
Oh, okay. I can share now. Let's see here. Let's
Yep.
pull this sucker up here. Okay.
There we go.
All right. Perfect. 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 Okay. All right. Can everybody see the Greenberg Central School District Superintendent search?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay. All right. So this is just the cover page. Nothing too exciting there. We're going to go into the raw score sheet. It's the top page. And this is really all of your data. I'm just going to break it down for you. And at any point, guys, just interrupt me if there's any questions or concerns. I do this all the time, so I know it really well. To somebody just looking at it for the first time, it can be a little overwhelming. So don't feel like you're inconveniencing me or that you're just not understanding something. Let me know, because we want you to have a full understanding of this when we're all said and done. So you'll see on the top here, we've got each of your groups from the survey data. And then we put down how many participants for each group were in that total. So you'll see for teachers, you had 42 participants. For administrators, you had 6. Support staff, you had 12. Parents, you had 166 English speaking, and then you had an additional 4 in Spanish language. You had 30 students. For non-parent community members, you had 69 English speaking and 2 Spanish speaking for a total of 71. And then you'll see the Board of Education here where everybody's participated in that. So then what we do, well, Kathy went ahead and compiled the data for us and put down how many people from each group selected each of the 33 qualities to really break it down for you. So not only are you seeing what the top 10 overall, but you're seeing, well, how did the teachers feel about having classroom experience? How did the teachers feel about willing to listen to input, but as a decision maker? And that takes me to quality number 1, which is the quality I just mentioned. And if you look at this, 24 out of your 42 teachers selected that. So it ranked number 4. Out of your administrators, 5 out of the 6 selected that. So it ranked number 1. We did that with all 33 qualities. I'm not going to walk everybody through this. You guys are much too smart of a group. But you will notice the qualities that were ranked higher and the qualities that were ranked lower for each individual group. For example, teachers, what we kind of talked about, we all knew that this would be coming. Out of your teacher group, out of the 42, 33 selected has classroom experience, which was the 33 quality, selected that, so it ranked to number 1, which is pretty typical with teachers and very understandable as well. Then we're going to go into the second page, and this is where you really get into the meat of what we're talking about today. So this is where we took those rankings and we compare them column by column. So you can see, well, how did the teachers feel about willing to listen to input, but as a decision maker compared to the administrators, compared to the support staff, compared to the parents, compared to the students. And you kind of see an overall combined ranking, which is this column right here. Now it just lets me highlight everything. And then you also have the Board of Education. So when we go through and we rank these, we obviously lean towards the board because ultimately you all are clients. You all are the ones that are going to be hiring the superintendent. So we do lean a little bit heavy on the board. You will see a couple ties here and there, and that's just because an even number of people selected more than one quality. So what we do is when we get this is we go through the Board of Education column, and then we go through the combined ranking column. And what we're looking for are the top 10, typically, sometimes top 12 top qualities. And then sometimes there's some that are really important to the board and maybe not so much the community, or really important to the community and not so much the board. And those we put down as considers, because we want the board to pay special attention to those qualities, whether they were important to the stakeholders or to the board, but not necessarily the others. We think it warrants the consideration and even opening the table up for discussion to discuss whether we put that on your flyer as part of your profile, or if we just put that in the back of our brains and use it when it comes time for screening and vetting these candidates. So we'll go through the ones that we recommended. There's some qualities that you will see are combined, and those are just in our experience that they really kind of go hand in hand, and that typically when boards would select one, the other one followed right there. And they were just so similar that we made them a combined grouping so that you could have room for another quality on your flyer because they were so commonly combined. And that's for number 1. We're willing to listen to input, but as a decision maker, you'll see we had that combined with number 13, which is possesses excellent people skills and presents positive district image. You can kind of see how those go hand in hand. Someone who's willing to listen, but has excellent people skills. So we have that as a combined ranking that we're suggesting. Now, number 2, and
Because you will upload this video format internet, upload me some unlimited internet, and get back at this project. We get some high winds here in Illinois. Still going to be 76 degrees here in November.
is that just background noise or am I missing somebody? I'm going to keep going. Somebody just yell at me if you need me to stop. Items number 2 and number 3 we have listed as considers, and you'll kind of see they're perfect examples. So for number 2 has leadership skills to respond to opportunities and challenges of ethnic and cultural diversity. Now that ranked number 3 with your overall community groups. It ranked number 17 for the board. So the board felt that there were other qualities that kind of trumped that one, versus the community really felt strongly about having somebody about understanding the challenges and opportunities with diversity and having kind of that breakdown within your enrollment. The next quality is able to work with legislators and lead organization through the legislative process. And it kind of flip-flopped. So for your combined stakeholders, it was ranked number 24. For the board, it was ranked number 3. Now you could certainly understand why. The community doesn't see that side. They're lucky enough that they don't have to deal with all of the ins and outs and the politics that you all are familiar with. So it's just different perspective. It's not one group is right, the other one is wrong. It's just different perspective, and that's why we have it listed as a consider.
Hey, Molly, could you zoom in a little bit so that anyone that's seeing this can see this a little better?
Yeah, is that any better? I can zoom in more.
Yeah, I think you should zoom in a little more.
How's that?
Yeah, that's better. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So then we get into 5 and 6. Those are both recommends, and you can see why. Number 5 inspires trust, self-confidence, and models. Now I can't see my screen. Models high standards. That's ranked number 2 and number 3 overall. So that was an obvious recommend. Same for number 6, strong communicator in speaking, listening, and writing. That was ranked number 1 with both groups. So that was an obvious have to include. Number 7, commitment to visibility with high interest in a broad range of community groups. We put that as a consider. It's ranked number 7 with the board. And again, you're going to see several number 7s. And that's just because multiple members of the board, maybe 3 people selected those qualities and it tied. So that's why it's a tie when it comes to the ranking system as well. It was ranked number 14 with the community. So there's a little bit of a breakdown there. So that's why we put it down as a consider, that we think that the board should really take a look at it, see if it's something they want to include on that brochure, or again, advise Dale and Mike and myself to just kind of use that when we get to the screening and vetting process, which we're more than happy to do. We'll take all of these qualities into consideration when we do that. Number 8 has experience recruiting and maintaining exceptional staff for the district and schools. That was ranked number 7 and number 5 respectively. So that was a recommend. Number 9, ability to build consensus and commitment among individuals and groups, was ranked number 2 with the Board of Education. Now it was ranked number 19th with the community, but because the board ranked it so high and because it's able to build consensus and commitment, that's kind of that's a foundation piece. So we really felt strongly about putting that as a recommend.
Also, Molly, it's ranked number 10 with parents, isn't it? Am I reading that wrong? No, it's ranked number 10 with parents.
Yep. It sure is. And that combined ranking just takes all of your stakeholder groups and averages them out. So it may have ranked 10 with the parents, but then you'll see with teachers, it ranked 27th out of 33. So that's where we kind of get that averaging. And all of these qualities, guys, these are not where you have to follow our recommendation. These are simply just our recommendations. So if there's some that you agree with, don't agree with, that's why we're here.
And Molly, let me add too, this has been a useful tool to boards beyond the search.
Yes.
Just to really get a gauge of what's going on in the community, where people are, so it can be very, very helpful beyond this.
No, absolutely. Thank you, Dale. I forgot to mention that this is something that between this and the additional comments from your stakeholder groups, we really encourage you all to hold on to these materials because it really sets the stage of what are we doing really well? What have we gotten right? And what are some areas that, hey, maybe we need a little bit of attention, especially with a new leader and kind of setting that new transition. What can we focus on? What can we kind of set up as goals to do better on? And this is one of those tools that I think you could find really useful. Let's see. So then we go into number 11, ability to delegate authority while maintaining accountability. Rank number 7 with the Board of Education, 11 within your community. So we did put that down as a recommend. 13, we already discussed. We kind of combined that with number 1, talking about the people skills, willing to listen, all that fun stuff. Then we go into 15, strongly committed to student first philosophy in all decisions. It was ranked number 7 with both groups. So that was an obvious need to include. And again, this is for schools. This is for the leader of your school district. Having somebody who puts a student first philosophy, I think is critical. And I think we can all agree on that their main job to put students first is going to be just the foundation for everything that happens past that. Then we go down all the way to 27, possesses ability to enhance student performance, identify and close in narrow gaps, I'm sorry. And so we have number 17 overall, or no, I'm sorry, 17 with the Board of Education, but then 9 overall. So to your stakeholder groups, it was really important and they really put a lot of emphasis on that. The board, it wasn't as high on the priority list. That doesn't mean it wasn't important. It just means that they found other qualities that they thought needed stronger attention. We did put it as a recommend. Number 30, promotes a positive and professional environment for district employees and board. It was ranked number 3 and number 4. So again, that was an obvious need to recommend. Then we get down to demonstrates a deep understanding of special education that meets the individualized needs of each student. And that was ranked number 3 with the board and 10 with the community. So that was, again, an obvious recommend because it came within that top 10 for both groups. The last, certainly not least, is that has classroom experience. Now you'll see that it ranked number 17th with the board out of 33 and 12th with your community. But if you look through, teachers had it ranked as number 1. You had several groups that had it, the non-parent community members had it ranked 7th. So that's why you put it as something to consider because it's right outside that range of your top 10 for your community groups. But there was certainly a high enough ranking with some of your other columns that we felt that it was worth putting on the table for discussion for you guys to take a little special couple more seconds to really review and see if that's something, again, you want to have included on your profile in print, or if it's something that Mike and Dale and I should just keep in the back of our brains when it comes time for recruitment.
Molly?
Yes.
Okay, with the raw score sheet, we can actually see as well how many board members, whether it was like majority of the board or maybe one. Yep. I know several of them have just one person. I'm a little surprised that one of the ones I chose that no one else chose that one because that's a very important one, but whatever. So are those ranked or weighted heavier for you guys? The ones that are either, I mean, there was only one that all 7 of us chose, but I see here there's several that 4 people chose or 3 people chose. Are those weighted heavier or no?
The board column is always weighted a little bit heavier. And there's a smaller number, so that's why their rankings are a little bit stronger than the groups that have a larger amount of people in it. And that's just simply because of averaging. But we do weigh a little bit heavier on the board because ultimately you guys are our client. We love the community and we love the input and we love the fact that they took time to participate, but you are our client and you are the ones that are hiring the superintendent. So we want to make sure that your qualities really have a strong showing when it comes to building that profile, because ultimately this is your one employee.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Are there any other questions? I know that I talk fast and I dumped a lot on you all at once. So please jump in with questions, concerns, anything that needs clarified. David?
Molly, can you see everyone's hands? Because people have their hand up.
I can see about 6 people at a time. So I was just scrolling through and I saw David.
Okay.
Okay, so so one of the things that you have for consider is as leadership skills to respond to challenges of ethnic and cultural diversity. And if I looked at the comments, which we'll get to a little bit later, I saw the word diversity many times. We are an international baccalaureate school, so there's kind of an international cultural emphasis there. We have our large, Mandarin program for all our students. So the idea of diversity in terms of like world community seems to me to be pretty central to what we're advertising when we describe our district. So I would think if we're considering it, that we might put it in. Now, if we do that, do we have to bump something else, or will it fit?
No, absolutely not. And David, that's an excellent question, and I should have clarified. So we talk about the top 10. If you want to have 15 on this flyer, we will put 15 on the flyer. We can put as many as you want to, as that you feel strongly about. Again, though, I would really recommend keeping it to right around that 10 to 12, if we can. And just rest assured that out of all these qualities that we're talking about, all the considers, all the recommends, Dale, Mike, and myself will really be utilizing when it comes to screening and vetting. But this is going to be the piece that you want advertised and that your potential candidates will be looking at and going, oh, hey, I have that, or hey, I do really well at that quality. If you tend to
how do other board members feel about that particular item?
I'm sorry, David.
Has leadership skills to respond to opportunities and challenges of ethnic and cultural diversity. I told you why I like it. I want to know if other people want it in or not.
Item number 2, Tanya, if that helps you.
Well, I'll jump in. Sorry, go ahead, Tanya.
No, I just wanted to say I think it's a very important one in light of our district and also the community input that we got, which I read through. And like David, there were kind of concerns that came up over and over again, and that was clearly one of them. And I think it's, yeah.
Maybe if everyone could mute, I hear like a lot of talking.
And guys, I do want to interject here and let you know that out of all of these, the recommended and the considers, there's 14 total. And we could certainly get all 14 on the brochure. That's not uncommon. That's not a crazy number. You don't typically want to go higher than 14 because then it just becomes a lot of words that your candidates are reading, and it makes it harder to focus on what they're good at and what they can fulfill. So I wouldn't recommend going much higher than this. But I think if you guys feel confident with the 14, we could go ahead and make all 14 fit on the flyer.
So Molly, to clarify, when you say 14, that includes the combined widths being combined, right?
The combined, yes, they would be one combined quality, and then the additional recommends and the ones that are listed as considers.
Got it.
So I just want to respond to David. I really like that comment. I did not choose it as my top, I don't know if it was 12 or that I had to choose. I see that like something like put students first, I chose, and I was, I guess, the one board member that chose that. So, we had to weigh them. I guess, I don't know, I'm looking at the sample flyer that you guys did or put together. The screen thing, I can't pull it up on my computer for some reason.
Let me pull it up and I'll share it, Tracy. Give me 1 second here.
So then my question is, if I have to choose 10 or 12 out of that one, I might leave that one off because the flyer is pretty clear that this is a diverse school district. It talks about, I guess, the makeup of our school district and ethnicity. And so if the flyer talks about diversity within the flyer, I'm not sure if we need to make an actual bullet point as knowing how to leadership skills to respond to opportunities and challenges of ethnic. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of already implied in the fact that we have a diverse district that we're going to be looking for that. So that's the only way I would leave it off. But if everyone's okay with going with 14, I'm okay with including it. I do think it's important.
I'm okay with 14.
Tanya?
So I'm okay and not okay with 14. And I think one of the problems I actually had with this flyer, and in particular with the attributes of the superintendent who we seek, and I'm coming to you from the perspective of being a grant writer, is that it's just too wordy. I found that it was just too much to read through. If these are bullet points, they should be shorter and more to the point bullet points. So that was actually my major sort of critique of your flyer.
Okay.
So from my perspective, I'm fine with the 14. When I went through the survey, I thought to myself, well, all of these qualities are important for a superintendent, right? How do you actually pick out the top 10
Right.
in a reasonable way? And I'm glad that we did involve as many groups as we did, and we did get so much different feedback so that we could see overall, right, all these minds together are better than just one. That said, I'm fine with the 14. Tanya, to your point, I get it, but I deal with writing job descriptions all the time. And in the grand scheme of things, this is actually pretty short of a list compared with like what you would normally see out in the market. So I'm okay with it being 14 bullet lines from my perspective.
Yeah, if everybody's okay with 14, I'm fine with putting in all of them.
I am not okay with 14. I do believe it is. Honestly, I really like the flyer overall. I just think even just looking at it from here, I don't know if you guys can see it. To me, there is a lot of messaging on it, a lot of information, which I think is really important. I just kind of think that having 14 feels like it's already filled as it is. This area 14 feels like it'll just kind of clog it up. And that's just me visually thinking about it. I think 14 might be too much, but I mean, whatever the majority, feels, I'm fine with that either way. But my preference is not 14.
And what we can do too, Antoinette, to that point, is if we ultimately want to do the 14, and can you all see the brochure on my screen? Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I have it printed too. I was able to get it printed.
So the qualities that are on there, what we can do is divide that into 2 columns so that there would be 7 on each side, and it actually makes it more room. So there'd be 7 qualities, but it would just be divided in half. So it'd be 2 columns, one with 7 here and then one with 7 on the other side. And it actually does clean it up very nicely. If you'd be interested in seeing, we could have Kathy put together something for tomorrow morning if you'd be interested in entertaining that idea.
The other thing I would say is the audience, I remember the audience or superintendents, they're used to reading this stuff. And Tanya, I think you make a good point, but they're looking for a position in a great district like this. They will read that and they want that level of detail so they get a sense of what, and they'll read between the lines too, get a sense of what the district is all about. So it may look wordy, but that's really what the market bears.
All right, I think that makes sense. Thank you.
I have my hand up.
Yeah, Terry.
So Molly, you were explaining the answers to us when David asked the question about a particular attribute. What were you about to recommend, or what more were you going to say? I just want to get a full, I want to get your full expertise before I make a decision.
Sure. Terry, Mike and Dale will tell you, it's hard to shut me up. If I've got a point to make, I'll probably make it. But I appreciate it. All I was going to just say was that, kind of reiterate that if you are interested in all 14 qualities and you feel that you'd rather have enough versus not have enough to cover your bases, you want to have more than enough, that we could certainly make those 14 qualities fit on there. And kind of what I was talking to Antoinette's point, we could put it in 2 columns. So aesthetically, it's not overwhelming. It's not too much coming at you. But I really feel like to have more is more beneficial, because superintendents, I mean, you think about it, they're going to be moving their entire families. They're going to be giving up their home, their neighborhood, possibly leaving their parents. You don't know what they're leaving behind. They want to know exactly what the job description is. They want to know exactly what they're getting into. And so they're going to do their homework, but they're going to want to know the qualities that are important to you all before they uproot their families. So that's just my recommendation, would be to put the 14 on there, make it so that it's more, not so condensed and in your face, but make it more aesthetically pleasing, but include all 14. That would be my recommendation. But again, you all, if you want to put the top 10 in, you certainly can.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, if I may, the only footnote I would add to all of this conversation is that you've got community input, you've got board guidance. The 14 lets you cover a lot of bases together. That was the reason actually I was more inclined, not even just what they particularly said, but it was the preferences in which the different audiences supported them. And I think that this gives a different flavor of inclusion. To be quite honest, we look at it all anyway when we start screening before you see the applicants. But the fact of the matter is, I think it's indicative of your respect you have for the community, plus the guidance that it's your responsibility to bring to the process. So that would be my thought.
Let me go ahead. I'm going to get off the flyer page. I'm just going to bring up a sheet where it has all 14 listed on it so you can see them. And it might.
Don't do that yet. Don't do that.
Okay. No problem.
I'm sorry. I really have to insist on this point, because I think for starters, I mean, it's nice to go through this process, but at the end of the day, you're going to get a pool of candidates who are looking for jobs, right? And maybe these candidates, some of them will look at this, and to Antoinette's point, they're going to look at the description of our district and they're going to say, no way do I want to deal with something like this. I want to be somewhere completely different, right? And then they're going to look at and then they're going to get to these attributes. And I think at some point, it's kind of a fine balance, like between too little and too much. So I just want to say this again, because I understand Ashley's point, but I also just, like, for example, I'm just going to take the last one, which says demonstrates a deep understanding of special education that meets the individualized needs of each student. I mean, honestly, it's enough to say demonstrates a deep understanding of special education, right? I mean, I think that, to me, it is like just too much information.
You're saying more succinct statements that are just
statements, that would be indicative, of really, we want someone who understands special ed, just like the previous one, promotes a positive and professional environment, period. I mean, obviously it's for district employees and the board, like who else is it going to be for? I mean, so I'm just, again, that is really my major issue, because really it's nice to go through the process, but at the end of the day, the candidates will weed themselves out by looking at what our district is like. And then, maybe, they'll look at this list and somebody will say, I'm not interested in special ed. So, count me out, whatever. But
okay. Do you mind if I respond to you, Tanya, real quick? I'm going to ask a favor of all of you. I've been doing this for a number of years, and these qualities have been established for a very long time, longer than I've been with the firm. If you all would trust me to work with Kathy tomorrow and condense some of the qualities that we can, I can't promise that all of them will be condensed, but condense some of them the way that you're speaking to, Tanya. If we can approve the flyer tonight, could you just put your trust in me that I could condense a few of those to make it a little bit cleaner, a little bit easier to read? Is that something that maybe we could do?
Yeah, I'm good. I mean,
Hold on for a second. Miss Carrie, go ahead.
Yeah. I've been listening to everything people have been saying, and I'm kind of confused. After reading the 14 suggestions, I found them to be very apropos. I said, look, we've got a lot of information from a lot of different people. That's what we said we wanted. Transparency. We wanted the input from our community, our staff, our students. We wanted input from everyone. Mm-hmm. In those attributes, we have input from everyone. As far as being wordy is concerned, if we listen to some of the tapes of our meetings, then you will understand what wordy really is. I find that those particular suggestions are very good suggestions. And if you go into your emails board, you will see there's a gentleman that sent us an email. He's of Hispanic descent, and he was very concerned about having someone who will be sympathetic to the immigrants that are in our neighborhood. And he wanted to speak up, but because he didn't speak English well enough, he didn't feel comfortable in telling you or telling the team what he felt and what he felt he needed. So I think that what we're putting in the flyer is utterly important. If they don't want the job, then they won't apply for it. And if we don't like who applies for it, then we won't accept them. But I think that we're doing ourselves injustice if we don't attempt to put out what we feel the whole community has contributed in, to see if we can get the type of superintendent we all will be happy with. So that's my input. I go for the 14.
Thank you. And I agree, and I don't want it to seem like I'm agreeing at all, you guys. I think we should include all 14. That's my recommendation. But I do think that we should clean up just a couple words here and there, find a happy medium. It'll still have the same qualities that your community spoke on that they wanted included, but it'll just be cleaned up a little bit more, still saying the same thing, but just maybe a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. And if you'll trust me enough, I can get that done.
Awesome.
Terry,
right, thank you.
Thank you.
Terry.
Yes, so thank you for that. I do have a couple of concerns. First, Molly, your point is well taken about you having done this for a while, and certainly some of this predates even your participation with the firm. And I for one, like to rely on the expertise that we hire. My concern about, look, if you feel the need to edit what you write, that's fine. As a writer, I know that editing is important. My concern is you come back with something and then somebody else says, well, it's still too wordy. And then somebody says there's not enough here. I guess the point I'm making is I would rather rely on your expertise because we've hired you to do that. Enough of my colleagues who voted to hire the firm should rely on your expertise, because then the practice here will start to become the board's work rather than the consultant's work. So that's my point number one. Other point that I have is along the lines of what my colleague just said about enough responses from the community, and she referenced the gentleman, the Spanish-speaking gentleman who felt he didn't really say what he wanted to say because of the language barrier. Similarly, we received an email from one of the ministers in town, who actually his congregation is right in Greenburgh, and a number of his parishioners attend. And he claimed that he had not had time. It came to him late. So my concern is that we have not received enough input, actually, from certainly a key constituency group, a large congregation, many of whom send their children to our district. How are we going to address that?
So I'm going to jump in. So I'm going to say that Ivy worked really hard to reach out to a variety of groups, including
Yes.
all of the pastors from a variety of different churches, congregations, different denominations, and everything like that. We also did extend that as well. So when all the community groups receive their invitation, when I say community, I'm including civic, I'm including the town board, a variety of those things. When they receive their links, they also, not just to the meeting, they also receive the link for the survey itself. It was sent out, it was on our website. It was also sent out not only through School Messenger, which all of our students and families do get that as well, but we also reached out to the town board, who has a massive list of community members, including a lot of the pastors in different churches. So we wanted to get as many people as we possibly could. And of course, other community groups did share it as well. So I think with the extension, and I think with the links being placed within the actual groups that we're going to meet, some may have been missed because it's not a perfect system. I don't think any system is, but I think there were great efforts to try to extend the survey to as many people as we can possibly go. Terry, I'm not trying to have like a back and forth. I'm just responding to what you said, but it is now 7:13. We do need to move forward. So if
Well, I
you're
understand
sharing
that. So I just
something
want to
new-
make one comment. I just want to ask one question since you shared how that was distributed. My question is point blank. Did you send it directly to the pastors and ask them to share with their congregation? I saw the email to the town board. I'm on the town board's distribution list, so I did see that. And I saw some other areas, but specifically, since you specifically sent it to the town, did you specifically send it to Union, to Calvary, to churches where we know that we have a large student population? It's a simple question.
Ivy, I'm not sure if you're still in. Can you jump in and share with Terry what was done as far as the congregation pastor specifically? I can't see you, Ivy, on my screen. Yes, now I will.
I sent the email to, it was 16 different members of the clergy that I had information on.
Awesome.
For those that I didn't have email addresses, I called and left voicemail messages stating that the Board of Education would like to invite them to a meeting. Please call me. That way I can provide you with the meeting information and the surveys.
That's awesome.
So my only question is this, Ivy, could you just forward the email to the pastors so that I have it for my records, whom you sent it out to, and the follow-up ones as well, and we can move on. I just need that for my own knowledge.
I can share the information of every person, group, entity that I sent the invitation to, all the stakeholders.
Antoinette?
Make sure you send that to everyone, Ivy, so the full board.
Yes, it'll be in the packet.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I want to add one point because I'm the one that met with them, and we met with them twice.
Oh,
yep.
Because
awesome.
on Friday or Thursday, whatever the day was, that the first meeting, there were only 2 pastors there, and they were troubled, and they asked for another opportunity for the following Monday. And they sent out their own emails off the email that Ivy had sent because they had it.
Wow, thank you.
To a collection of pastors. I'm not saying it's nearly the list that Ivy sent it to because of who was in attendance. And on Monday, after all that happened, there were 3 pastors there. So we had 2 the first time and 3 the second time. The communication from Ivy I'm aware of went at least 3 times. And I know these pastors at least reached out to their immediate colleagues of their practices separately on their own. So Terry, good, bad, or indifferent, I'm not being defensive whatsoever. I'm just saying there were some pretty significant steps taken. And we did do one extra attempt at it. So that's just That's just the course of events. So I hope that's helpful.
Thank
Antoinette?
you, Mike, for adding that into there. After you, we could just like move on so we can move forward. It's now 7:16.
Okay.
Go ahead, Tracy.
No, I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on it. I do want to say that I'm definitely proud to be a part of this group. I think under your leadership, we're really trying to take as many people into consideration. As a parent, I have many friends in other districts, and this many stakeholders were not considered and not outreach to in other districts. I know Hastings recently hired a superintendent, White Plains. I don't think they included pastors in White Plains. When White Plains hired a new superintendent, I am really proud to be on a board that considers the community to this extent. Being in Greenberg for so long, I have a 9th grader. I've been involved since she was in pre-K. I've been involved in 2 other superintendent searches. Never this early has the community been involved in regards of having a survey to this detail and extent. So I am very thankful for Ray and Associates for putting together this type of survey and putting it out to the community. So thank you. I wish we could have gotten more community input, but I am really happy with the outreach that we did do. I do wish we had more time and more input from certain groups, but I am happy to hear. Thank you for clarifying, Michael, that you did reach out to the pastors, because I did not know that there was 2 separate meetings. That's really helpful to know. So
I do want to add one other point.
Spin on it. I'm not going to attack or bring anybody down.
No.
That we tried really hard, and I'm happy that we included people so early. So thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Can you just close this portion out for us so we can move forward? Thank you.
Yeah, I will. I just want you to all know one other thing. Now, granted, there were only 6 students at 8:15 on Friday morning that came to the session that they were invited to, but they were absolutely delightful. And as always, and Dale's a little jealous because there was a date confusion, so he didn't get to do it. So I'm just telling you, Dale, you missed a great time. But students are always part of the finest.
Yes.
And there's an integrity there that's not filtered by anything that we do as adults.
Yeah.
So I just want you all as a board to know that though their numbers weren't swarming, I will tell you the content was rich.
Thank you.
So I thank you for that opportunity.
Antoinette, just one comment. Antoinette, just one comment. I just like to respond to. I understand, but you let Tracy go on for 4 or 5 minutes. The only point that I would make is that many of the attributes that that this firm has used is what we've done in the past as well. We have always included the community. Certainly, each consulting firm does things a little bit differently, and I got to say that you guys are doing an excellent job as well. But certainly, the other people that we have used in the past also did the same job and did also include the community as well.
Sure.
This is not a new thing. This is not a new thing here. In other words,
I'm going to say this. This is not about us as individuals, but us as a group and a community together. So if we can stop all of the grandstanding and if we could just go through this process with Ray and Associates so that we can move on, that would be very helpful. So if we can really try hard to do that. Molly, Dale, and Michael,
thank you for being even-handed in your criticism.
Where do you want to go next?
Sure. So I'm going to jump in. I'm just going to bring up a screenshot, and it's going to have all those 14 qualities listed.
Okay.
And I want to get a consensus from everybody. Is everybody okay if I go in, try to clean up a little bit here and there, but get the 2 columns? Do you guys trust me enough to do that so we can get?
Oh, yeah.
Molly, yes, please move forward.
Okay, perfect. So we'll do
We're
that.
on to the next thing.
Perfect. All right, let's go ahead to that document. And I'm not going to treat you all like children, so we're not going to go over it line by line. I just want everybody to take a peek at it, make sure that it. Just so you can get your. This is the seeks a superintendent who.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is listed. This is all it is. We don't need to have a discussion about it. These numbers are not a ranking. This is just the number on the sheet and number on the survey. So just take a peek at it. Like I said, we'll go in, clean up a little bit where we can here and there, put it in 2 columns, and get that flyer out the door tomorrow because we really want to open up recruitment.
I do have a question, Molly. So this flyer,
Yes.
is gonna go out, and the section here is what you have on the screen now, right?
So the flyer is right here where it says Greenberg Central School.
Right.
Yep, right there.
So this section is just a highlight of this section, or is this?
Exactly. That's
Is
all.
this, is this flyer, the one that you originally had up a minute ago, is this going to be separately posted somewhere else?
Nope. So it's going to be on the flyer and it's going to be part of your profile. And that's the only place it's going to be posted on.
Awesome. Thank you for clarifying.
Absolutely. So we'll go through that. And then the next one, again, I'm not going to read this to you guys. You all are very educated people. This is just a breakdown of the survey. So I assume that everybody had time to kind of take a peek at it. It just, you know, where I talked your ear off explaining the survey. This is just a much prettier version where you don't have to hear me squawking in your ear. That's all this is. And I would recommend that you take a peek at it, read it on your own. And again, you guys, if you don't understand it, I can't stress this enough. If for some reason you don't understand that graph and the ranking, please call me or Mike or Dale tomorrow. We're available, and we want to make sure you feel good about this. So
Molly, will the candidates, whether they be the finalist or at some point, will they have any access to this stuff or no?
Yeah.
So they will have access to your profile piece, which is those 14 qualities. They will have access to that on the brochure itself. But as far as any of like the comments or anything like that, no, that's strictly for you all. And we're not going to go through the comments line by line, guys. You had a strong showing for comments. You should feel very good about those comments. I would really recommend taking them. And I know that sometimes some comments are hard to read. I get that. Constructive criticism is never fun for anybody. But I would really recommend taking it, holding on to it for whenever you hire your next superintendent, whoever he or she may be, hold on to that because it highlights for you from an outside perspective on what you're doing really well and what could use some work. And you could start kind of thinking about some webinars or some workshops to really focus on those things because this is community input. You're never going to be able to, hopefully you won't have to get anytime soon. So just hold on to that. I would really recommend that. And again, once everything is said and done, Antoinette, if you're like, hey, Molly, I need a copy of those comments, we hold on to those. So at any time, call me. We've got them and we'll get them to you. So then the last piece here, if I can just get into my email, is, and that's actually it. I'm not going to go through the comments with you. Yeah, that's it, guys. Are there any questions on anything?
I have a question.
Okay. I can't see who said that, so go ahead.
Tanya said it.
It's Tanya.
May I go ahead?
Yeah.
Can I just make a comment? Maybe you should unshare your screen so you can see everyone.
Thank you, Ivy. I swear I'm getting better at this, guys. I still struggle.
So do we. So do we.
Okay, Tanya.
Yeah. So I'm wondering how the community committee is going to be formed and how people have been asking me how they can sign up or be considered to be members. And so I'd like to understand what the process is going to be for that.
Sure. And I think that's something that we typically don't discuss until we bring the group of candidates to you all for first viewing. And that's going to, and Kathy, do you have the timeline in front of you? I apologize. I don't, when that semi-meeting is.
Oh, I might have it.
Yep, I have it. Because I knew it was going to come up.
There you go, Kath.
Yeah, I know. I'm so good I can't get my hand on it. Hold on. I printed off a whole bunch of them.
We'll get that date specifically for you, Tanya, but at the semi-meeting where we present the top candidates that we're recommending, that's when we're going to talk about, once you decide on how many candidates you want to bring forward for those interviews, then we're going to start talking about what involvement you want to have when it comes for your finalists. And your finalists are typically your top 2 or your top 3. And at that time, the reason why we do that is because you may have a couple candidates who are super strong when it comes to being former teachers. And so you want to have more teachers on that committee. Or you may have somebody that's a former admin. So you want to have more administrators on that. It all depends on who those candidates are. So you can really set your committee to be the best fit for that candidate. So you can get the most information out of them. So that's why you recommend holding off until that semi-meeting. And Kath, do you have that date?
It's January 19th.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna write it down, but I just want to tell you that, I understand that this is a completely different process and it's still new to me. It's the first time I'm doing this, just like it's the first time I was involved in the assistant superintendent of curriculum and instruction search, where we actually had a committee that really interviewed, I think it was like the top 10 and then re-interviewed the top 3, I think. So we actually had the community involved in like the 2 stages, right? So, I mean, is this something that you do not recommend, or is
No.
We don't. And the reason why, because if you think about it, it's for the deputy superintendent, it's not a real high risk if their supervisor finds out that they're looking. A superintendent is a higher status. A lot of these superintendents, the superintendents who their board doesn't care if they leave, or the superintendents who don't have a current board, you don't want them. I mean, let's be honest, we don't want them. You want the superintendent who are excelling where they're at. You want the superintendent where once their board hears they're leaving, goes into a panic. That's the superintendent that you want. So we don't recommend involving any committee until you get to the top 2 or top 3. Because if we tell the superintendent pool that, hey, when you're in the top 10 or top 12, your name's going to be out there. I mean, you know, Tanya, if you were going into a job and you were one of 12 and you were going to risk your current career versus if you were one of 3, you want the higher odds. So
Sure.
you get the higher quality of candidate with the higher odds. So that's why we recommend the second round interviews.
Understood. Thank you.
Molly,
Tracy?
in the past here with the other 2 superintendent searches that I was around for, they were done in 2 separate ways. And I know this was asked of you guys early on, but I just want to clarify. One of the 2 that I participated in had like a public forum. It wasn't even a small committee. It was a public forum where we had the 3 finalists come and actually meet with those superintendent candidates in the cafeteria at the high school, I believe it was. And my children were still very young. It was a very interesting experience. I was not aware of all the dynamics at that point. So is that something you guys are looking at, kind of like an open forum? I know it's different because it's COVID and we have the COVID effect and we're all online right now. But is that the sort of thing you're thinking about for the final 3? Or the next search that I was around for was very closed. It was like a big secret in many ways. Not that it wasn't transparent. I do think that the board was transparent with it, but the finalists were very, it was very quiet about who and what the name was at that time. So what are we doing?
So it's going to be completely up to you guys. And again, it's going to come down to that semi-meeting where we are presenting candidates to you. It is your search. We've done it both ways that you just described, Tracy. But I will tell you that if we get super high status superintendent, they're not going to want to become public. And so when we bring those names to you, we're going to be very honest with you and say, you know what, John Doe would be okay being a named one of 3. Jane Doe, she's going to withdraw. You may lose her. So that's a risk that you all will have to have a discussion about at that January meeting. But it is your search. We have conducted it either way. And we will give you our recommendation. You know, that's what you hired us for. We will tell you, hey guys, we really think that it needs to be closed all the way through. You've got 2 out of the 3 that are rock stars and may withdraw if they've only got a 33% chance and that their name's going to be out there and they're going to have to do damage control once this is all said and done if they're not honored the job.
The important thing is that this is a customized search. You know, it's not a cookie cutter, you know, what do you do? Well, you know, we do it very differently in very different districts, which is why we're successful. And so, you know, so this is, we're at this process. So, but this is great. Any other questions? Molly, great job. Any other questions?
I have a comment, I guess, for our board president, Madam President. I think that this is maybe not today, but this is a conversation we probably need to have as a board. There's been a lot of division going on, and I think that I respect what you're saying, Molly, and I do think that a high-profile superintendent or a high demand, you know, someone who's a big deal, that their board would be really upset may not want things to be public, but as my frenemy, my good friend on the board, David Warner, always says, there are no secrets in Greenberg. And then he does these eye things. So I agree. I think there are no secrets in Greenberg. And although this board is ethically held to a certain standard of not disclosing information, Madam President, I think that we need to be honest with ourselves and with the way that our board functions lately. And I think we probably need to maybe not today, but we need to look at how we're really going to do it, because I don't know that, you know, a high profile person would stay confidential.
And Tracy, just to follow your thought, I really appreciate your input. I really do, because I don't know Greenberg as well as you do. I would just really encourage you all to hold off until you see those name of candidates, see where they're coming from, and then have a discussion and take it from there. I can't stress that enough. And if your public asks and pushes for a yes or no, are we included, are we not? You tell them that you are going to do the best thing for your students and the best thing for your school district. And if that means getting the best and handling it internally with just the board, that's one way. If it's having a public forum, like we described earlier, that you will entertain both ideas, but ultimately you're going to make the best choice as elected officials for your kids and for your district.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Molly. I do agree, Molly, with just us waiting till we see what candidates that we do have before we make that decision. All right.
David,
I'm going to disagree with that. I'm going to say that there are probably people out there in the public right now who believe that they think that they get two shots at input. One shot being what goes in the profile, and the second shot being what do the finalists look like. And there may be people who are patiently waiting because they think they're going to get to look at the finalists. So understand that if the rules change, that there will be some disappointment.
That's a good point, David.
I think that's definitely understandable. At the end of the day, with all the information we have, we need to do what we usually do as a board. Take into consideration what's on the table and let's move forward with that.
I think, and I hear both sides of it and I appreciate both sides of it. You know, we've done this across the country, so I've heard that on both ends, and I can't stress enough, just hold off until the 19th. You're not doing any damage by holding off and seeing what your candidate pool looks like. This may be a non-issue, David. It may be where you've got people that don't mind having their name out there and it's open, and let's have forum groups. So let's cross that bridge when we get to it, as my mom would say. So let's just hold off until January, and then let's cross that bridge and tackle it.
Thank you. All right, Molly, anything next?
No, we're done bending your ear. You're probably sick of hearing me talk, so we are all done.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, that is it.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I have one more question. Happy Thanksgiving. I just have one more question really quickly. Where are you going to post all of this? Can you repeat that for the public so everyone knows where this information is going to be?
Absolutely. Kath, I had to get off of the desktop. Can you read those off? Do you have access to that real quick?
You're muted, Kathy.
You're on mute, Kath.
Yep, sorry, hold on just a second. Some people like it when they can't hear me.
True. Part of while she's looking, Tracy, I'll let you know, included in our base fee, we are going to be advertising with Education Week. And that's kind of I joke around and call it the holy grail. That's what hits every superintendent reads that. And we are going to stagger your advertising. I think we kind of talked about that initially, where instead of paying for the 60 days of advertising, it doesn't make sense when we can just stagger. So you're going to see some, they're for 30-day postings, and I'm going to stagger some the first 30 and then have them kind of spaced out after that front. So you'll always have something out there in the public. And Kath, do you have that list?
I do. It's a AA essay, and then the Ed Week that's included in our base fee. We also have NAPSI, ALIS, and then we have the free listings, which are free. And then I'm going to work with Ivy to put the posting together for the New York State School Board Association And that looks like it's a 4-week posting as well. They just have a specific form. So I'm going to work with Ivy once we get the flyer qualities figured out, finalized to put that together. I'm sorry. Then there's also the council. I had to scroll down. The Council of School Superintendents, which I guess is NYSCOSS. Molly will post that as well. And then the School Administrator Association of New York State, which is SAANYS.
Yep. And just so you know, we will be, as I post them, I will be sending the invoices directly to Ivy. We don't mark anything up. You're going to see the exact invoice, and that will give you kind of a status update of what's been posted and what's going to be kind of spaced out in the next round. So if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me or Ivy, whoever you feel more comfortable with, but there's no markup on any of this. You'll see the exact receipt of what we paid and what we're billing you.
And then, of course, it's on our website, which gets 3,500 plus visitors every single month.
All right, Terry, I see your hand.
Thank you. I'm just curious, Molly. You didn't mention the New York Times. Excuse me. I'm sorry. And I'm just curious. I'm just curious about it because I mean, obviously, in that Sunday review section, I think it is routinely. I can see it on the left-hand column that there's always a numerous high-level searches, including superintendent. So I just want to understand the reasoning behind not going to them.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the New York Times we've had experience with, as USA Today is the other one that people always ask about. And I'll be very honest with you, for the price that they charge, we don't get the interest. I certainly can if you want us to. I don't recommend it. I do advertising. Advertising is kind of my favorite thing as part of my job. I really love it. I thrive off of it. And I track where we get the interest from. And when we actually did a couple searches for New York State Department of Education, and we advertised within the New York Times, and we just didn't get the traction, Terry. I'll be very honest with you. We didn't get it. The superintendents that are actively looking aren't necessarily looking within your state paper, even though it's a massive national publication. They're not looking there. They're looking at the AASA. They're looking at NAPSI. They're looking at Education Week. That's where they're looking. So we just, for the amount of money that they charge for both USA Today and New York Times, it's just not worth it.
It's primarily benefit to audiences actually are college presidents and particularly private colleges and also private schools. Terry, that's where the data will, if you really look at what the response levels are, that's been the only ones that have really been somewhat justifiable, at least in the last 5 years. So that's what we're basing it on. We're actually basing on response data, as well as the fact that we talk to superintendents, where do you look? I mean, we ask them all the time. So I hope that's helpful.
I rely on your expertise.
Well, we're trying. That's all I can tell you.
Thank you.
Guys, with your experience, do you think we will find someone that is qualified from like the way that we?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. It's a great district. It's a wonderful district. And when, this process, we've gotten feedback, we feel very good. We're anxious to kind of, let's go, let's get it out there. Over Thanksgiving, folks are home now looking. After they've eaten all their turkey, they're going to be thinking about what's next. So let's rock and roll.
No, I don't have any hesitation at all, Tracy. And then just so you guys know too, I will be sending a weekly update to Antoinette, letting her know. It won't have names or anything like that because we do want to respect everybody's privacy. But we will be sending, hey, we have 10 new applicants this week. They come from the areas of the Northeast, New Jersey, and listing them off, giving you a general idea of where we're at. And I will be the first one. If we don't have the numbers that we need, I will be calling Antoinette and saying, hey, I'm concerned. What are your thoughts about doing another push on Education Week? I will be very upfront with her and she will know exactly what's going on. And again, she will share with the board on the updates and where we're at.
That's reassuring. Thanks, Molly.
Yeah. Terry?
I just want to follow up. I just want to make sure I heard Dale correctly when he said that we are a wonderful district. And you both said, of course, you don't anticipate any difficulty finding candidates. Just want to make sure I heard correctly that we are a wonderful district.
I absolutely said that, and I've gotten to know your district. I had 2 days of interviews with community, with the administrators, the politicians, and again, and I will tell you, and I do a lot of work with boards. You're a good board too. And
See, now you lost us, Dale. Now you lost me, Dale.
conflict, in spite of some conflict, I work a lot with, again, I've been on, let me tell you something. I have 48 years of school board experience. And so I'm, been on, so, and I'm only 60. So I know school boards. And so we sometimes have conflict, but it's always about the kids first. And I feel in this district that it's that you guys will find somebody that will put kids first. And I sense it. And I will tell you, I wouldn't say anything if I didn't really believe it. I really like my conversations with people. I really like the potential. You are a district of a good size, so someone can come in and make a real impact. You're not 100,000. So I'm hopeful that you will, a year from now, you will come back and say, those crazy folks, but they found somebody really good in the community.
I think you'll be saying that about us, but I'm just heartened to hear that you all think that we're a good district, and obviously that's a function of the leadership that we've had, both at the board and administrative level.
Here, I mean, you guys are. I know that there's some discord, but that's every board. And Kathy's gonna.
I'm not worried about the board, and I don't want. If you guys want to have us on the collective couch and counsel us, that's one thing. But this isn't about the board per se. I mean, it is and it isn't. But just the fact that you all said that we're making sure I got the adjective right. An excellent district, certainly a quality district. That was enough for me to hear. So it means a combination of the board, past boards, and certainly current leadership was doing something right.
No, absolutely, Terry. And what I mean by that, I'm not hacking on anybody in particular. What I was going to share, and Kathy's going to roll her eyes at me, is I did a search in Colorado a couple years ago where they literally had Facebook pages attacking each other. It was attacking Terry Williams. It was attacking David Warren.
Give us time.
I was gonna say there's someone that
that's always
for sure.
That's already
For sure.
No, it gets better. It gets better. We had our stakeholder groups, like what we're reviewing tonight.
Madam President,
hold on, Miss Perry. Miss Perry, hold on for 1 second. Hold on, Molly was finishing.
And for the administrator group, for stakeholder input, no one showed up because they didn't believe the board appreciated them. So as a whole, when we say you are an excellent district, the fact that you had people show up, speak up, and even this discussion amongst each other, you care. And that speaks volumes. You care about the kids, you care about your district. And that's why we're saying you're an excellent district and why we're confident we can get you a great superintendent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Molly. Miss Carey, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I just said we had all sang Kumbaya. Could we move on now, please?
Yes, we are.
Yes. All right, we are going to move on. It is now 7:44. Seeing no other hands here. Thank you guys to the whole Ray and Associates team for working on this, for all the work that you've done so far. Thank you to all of our community. Like I said, before I say thank you to all of our community, I have to, this always happens because this person deserves it, but thank you greatly to Ivy.
Yes.
Sprout. She is the corraller of all community groups. So thank you, Ivy. We brainstormed different groups. Don't forget this, don't forget that person, don't forget this, and she really worked really hard to try to make sure that everyone in our community was reached out to. And so thank you so much, Ivy. And thank you again to our whole community for whoever took the time to participate, whether it was just a survey or whether you showed up at any of the groups to meet with Ray and Associates. We do appreciate all of the feedback. It is something that, like Molly said, that we will definitely hold on to and use it for when we do hire our new superintendent, so they can be aware of the field and what people's feelings were, so that we can all move forward together. So thank you so much, everybody. I guess that's it for this one.
Great.
I'm adjourning. Okay, wait. Can I get a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Wait. Are we adjourning?
Wait, I'm sorry. This point. Ivy, go ahead.
If you're adjourning the meeting, that's one thing, or are you adjourning into executive session? You have to give the reason why you're adjourning into executive session.
Well, I guess I wanted to give, it's 7, so we ended like 15 minutes early, so I didn't know we'd have enough time to go directly in, but we could, if that's what you like to do. I mean, if that's what you think, Ivy. Because I was trying to think, get the superintendent in time to come in. That's why I was thinking of adjourning this one,
But if you adjourn the meeting and start a new one, then it's like 2 separate meetings, so you really need to have it continuous. So you can certainly recess until everyone's available for the executive session.
All right, so we're gonna recess.
Can I withdraw my motion?
Thank you. Thank you, Tracy. So it's 7:46 right now, at least according to my stove. It's 7:46 right now. So we are going to go for, I guess, a 14-minute recess until our executive session.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Were we supposed to approve something tonight?
No.
Okay.
Like we were discussing, everybody gave some consensus of what they thought about it. Molly's gonna pull something together and move forward.
Okay.
Ms. Carey, did you hear that?
Yeah, but I heard something different. I heard her say something different. But I guess if nobody else heard it, then then my ears were the only ones.
Okay. All right. So Ray and Associates, you guys are, I guess, saying goodbye. Good night to us. Thank you guys for everything.
Thanksgiving.
All right, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Giving everyone.
That's just Cora's
so that's a
replaying.
delay. Oh, wow.
Maybe the YouTube or something replaying.
All right, guys. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
So
Good night.
We're going to go on a break and then come back and go into executive session?
Okay.
We're recessed right now. Laser?
Yeah, I'm gonna make you the host because I'm is that me?
So then do we have to run the tape while we have the break or not?
We're still running, right?
Yeah, we're still live.
Mhm.
I mean, we could pause it or just turn the volume off in the meantime.
I would say just turn the volume off. Just let it run.
All right, I'm gonna make you host because I'm gonna leave the office and then run home. Hopefully, I'll be there in 10 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then I'll join after.
We may be. I'm sorry, Ivy.
At minimum, you have to come out and adjourn the meeting.
Yes.
So you need to continue to.
Of course. Yep. All right.
All right, so I just made you the host.
All right, I see it. All right, Laser, don't run anybody over. Run any red lights.
No, it should be there in about 7-8 minutes.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Now the host.